Okay, so now that we have the Mohawk strip on, and assuming that you've painted your helmet, or if you're not painting your helmet, you're going to put the Mohawk tip on now. So this is how I do this. I put a little bit of pencil on the rivet heads, and I take my Mohawk tip, press it on, and I got a really cool mark for where I'm gonna notch that out in a second. Next thing I'm gonna do too, though, is I'm gonna make sure that this is nice and evenly cut. These are all hand cut. They're all hand trimmed, so there's gonna be a little bit of variation. You can spend some time with some sandpaper or a file and even these out, or you can use a Dremel, and that's what I'm gonna do right now. This cordless one's a lot more cumbersome than my nice big heavy duty one on the wand. Alright, so after I get that trim back, it's nice and even now. I'm going to take some sandpaper and I'm just going to clean up the edge there. Okay, so now when the Mohawk tip goes on, it'll be nice and even all the way across. So those two marks that I made, I'm going to take the Dremel now, I'm going to notch those out. I'm not going to go all the way through. I'm going to go probably about halfway through the plastic, and I'll dry fit it as I go. Continuing with the notching. So I'm going to take the Dremel and I'm just going to notch these. Be really careful not to hit your fingers. Don't go all the way through the Mohawk tip. So now, it's fit nice and flush in the back. So if you don't notch that, it's going to hang up and have the thickness of the rivet.
So you see the inside of it?
Mm-hmm. So here's the inside, notched out. So if I missed anything in the trimming, when I put it back on the rivet, since there's still pencil on there, it'll come back through. But I got it pretty good. It's a pretty nice fit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take and scuff the inside. And then I'm going to scuff the front side of the helmet where the glue's going to go. And this is where I'm going to use the CA glue and the accelerant. And this has got to go relatively fast too. So you can drip this stuff on your fingers. If you get it in your fingers, don't stick your fingers together. They do make a debonder that you can use also. So I fill the two holes just with a dab inside, and then I go bead around the outside. So now I'm going to stick it on the top, and I'm going to keep it angled like this, that way it doesn't start dripping out. So press it down, and I see a little bit of glue hit there, and I'm going to spray that. And the accelerant works with a capillary effect, so that means that when you spray it, whatever it touches here, it spreads through the glue. And I'm going to put a nice bead along the top, let it settle in, and then spray it. And now I'll let this set for probably an hour or two. Since the next step is putting the dome and the lens in, I don't want to get any CA glue on the lens, so I'll let this set until it's dry. Okay, so I'm getting ready to put the dome and the lens in and the chin strap. So what I do with the chin strap is I drill at the top here on these two tabs. I just drill that out. That's going to give me a little bit of an ABS cement rivet. So here's my dome and my lens. Keep your lens covered until you're ready to use it. You don't want to scratch the lens. So here's the lens. So I'm using the 6 packing peanuts. Those are my bushings. I've got 2 rivets, 2 rivet washers. I've got my magnets out. I've got my ABS cement, a pencil, and 2 of these little teeny tiny clamps. So first thing I'm going to do is put a rivet through the dome. I'm going to put the strip or the visor slide on. Then I'm going to take these these packing peanuts. These are great bushings. So I just squish them down and just pop them right onto the rivet. I'm going to use 3 of these per rivet. And they're going to want to pop off of there, so just be patient. They'll spring off and you can just pick them back up if they do. So I'm going to put the rivet washer on. There's a rounded side and there's a sharp side. So this is the sharp side. There's the rounded side. I'm going to go with the rounded side down. I usually do it the opposite way, but for this I'm going to go rounded side down just so there's nothing to catch on the lens slide. So I'm going to squish it on there. It's going to take a little bit of doing, but it gets on there. So I've got about 1/8 of an inch onto the rivet, and now I'm going to take the rivet gun and pop this guy on here. If you have access to one that rotates, those are better. Okay, so I'm going to put the second one through. Same thing. I'm going to take each one of these packing peanuts and just slide it on there as a bushing. So what this is doing is creating a gap between the rivet and the slide. So now I've got about another 1/8 of an inch there between the tip of the rivet and the washer. And then I'll pop that guy on. Okay, so now I'm going to tear this stuff out. So these packing peanuts, they're water soluble, so that if you can't get this stuff out, you can get some water on there and that'll get it right out. Just be careful not to scratch the lens. There we go. Now it slides. Okay, so the next step is to put the dome in the helmet. So I'm going to fit the dome and lens inside, and I'll be just eyeballing the center of the lens to the center line of the Mohawk tip, and I want the dome probably, I don't know, 1/2 inch or so inside. I want a nice reveal on the side of the helmet, the lens, but I don't necessarily want to see the dome from straight on. So that looks pretty good there, and you can adjust a little bit as you go when you're gluing it in. So I'm going to take the pencil now and I'm going to mark, just a quick mark for reference along the inside there. And that gives me a little mark. So I'm going to glue on the inside of that line. So I'm going to get my magnets ready now. If you don't have magnets, if you can't get magnets, you can hold it in place until the glue kicks a little bit. So the cool thing about magnets is you can stick them pretty much anywhere that's metal. Just keep them away from your phone, because I'm guessing they would erase some stuff. These are very powerful magnets. These are 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch magnets. They're good stuff. And you don't want them to slap together either, or else they may shatter. So I've got my tabs ready, my clamps are ready, my magnets are ready, glue's ready. So I'm going to add a bead of glue just right inside that line, right where the dome's going to go. And this is another spot where you don't want to use too much glue, because too much glue can distort the plastic since it's a solvent. So I'm doing a line up each side and then around the mark there. So when I fit it in, I'm going to just slide the dome to where I marked, and then I'm going to look at the front and make sure that it's all lining up nice. And like I said, if you don't have magnets, you can hold it in place until it sets. and then just try to keep it from moving. But you still have a couple minutes to kind of slide the dome around and get it placed to where you want it. So now that it's kind of setting where it's at, I can take the magnets. Okay, so now I'm going to put on the tabs. I'm going to slide the visor out, very carefully slide the visor out of the way so that I don't move the dome. And I'm going to put not too much, and I'm going to be very careful not to get anything on the lens. If you prefer, you can cover the lens now, just to protect it. And you know, unexpectedly, the time you think that you're going to be okay, you end up getting glue on the lens. So I put the side with the clip on the left side, so it's the helmet left. And so I've got a bead of glue there. I'm just going to set that on there. Then I'm going to use one of these little clamps. Oops. Oops. These ones are better when I'm trying not to get the camera angle. Okay, so I've got that little hole there. That's going to allow a little bit of ABS cement to kind of squish out of that and give me a little bit of a kind of a glue rivet. And then I'm going to take another dab, put it right over there, and just kind of get a nice healthy bead around the side of that. All the while being careful not to get any glue on the lens. Okay, so I let my helmet set just like this until that glue's set. That way there's no chance of it running onto the lens, dripping onto the lens or anything. So I'll let this set for an hour or two, up to 24 hours, and come back and take the magnets off. Alright, so now that your dome's in and your lens is in, we're going to take off the clamps. And the magnets. And I'm going to cover the lens just so that I don't get any glue on it when I'm gluing in the liner. So if you're using white tape, you want to do this and then peel the tape out within a few minutes. If you're using blue tape, you can leave it in for a couple of hours, but I would say on the whole, don't leave tape on the lens for too long. I'm going to slide it out of the way, make sure it's nice and covered. That way I don't get anything on it. So now I'm going to tuck in the straps. Get those guys out of the way. Alright, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to glue in the wire into the mic and get that carrying. So this is pre-drilled out, an 1/8 inch hole to take the wire. And I just add a little bit of glue into the hole. I go slow. I put it on the corner and let it ooze down. That way I don't have a big air bubble there. Like that. I'm going to spray some accelerant on it. And I'm going to let this set for a couple minutes before I mess with it again. And actually I'm going to cut, just to make it easier to thread into the helmet, I'm going to take off about 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of the insulation to expose the wire, which is going to make it a little sharper. So I'm going to put in the liner. So I'm just going to do a dry fit right off the bat. I'm going to get it in there and try to get as as nice of a fit as I can get. Kind of eyeball it around to center it this way, and then make sure there's enough room for the ear cups there. And I usually put them about a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the dome. So that looks pretty good there. It's a good dry fit. So now that it's setting in there, I'm going to peel back the front. And I'm going to be very careful not to glue myself to this thing. So for some reason, CA glue and this, I don't know if it's the foam or the release agent that I use in the mold, but it loves this stuff, so it sticks really fast. So you pretty much get one shot at this. So I put a bead around, and then a little bit in the center. And then I lay that centerpiece in, and just hold it in for a second. It usually grabs really quick. Okay, so then I'm going to go on to the next part. Just a nice spread of glue there. I'm going to hold that down. Onto the next corner. Same thing. Just, it doesn't have to be right up to the edge. It can be 1/2 inch away from the edge. Lay that in. Okay, now this back section is not glued in yet, so I'm going to peel up this whole part here to expose this whole section here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a bead of glue around this whole part here, and then some in the center. I'm just going to lay it back in and then hold it in. Okay, so now that this half's in, I'm gonna go ahead. I didn't do this ear cup yet. I'm gonna do this side first. So just peel that back. Get a nice bead of glue along there. And then let it flop in place. So this CA glue is going to run for a little while. That's why I cover the lens, to make sure that I don't have any chance of getting any glue on the lens. So once this sets in here, I'll do the ear cups. There's a little bit of fudging you can do when you're putting these guys in, just to beat around that. And then you can place them wherever you want them. I try to make sure that there's a good reveal from here to the edge of the helmet. Just hold it in place. And a lot of times while I'm holding this one in place, I'll go ahead and glue the other side. It doesn't take much glue. They both look relatively the same. Just hold that down for a minute. That's good. So it's still going to be wet glue, so you don't want to set the helmet this way and have the glue run anywhere. Let it set this way for a while. I'm going to go ahead and put in the trim. So this rubber trim has an adhesive on the inside right here. So that's going to, it bonds with pressure. If you're buying an assembled helmet from me, I don't glue the ends of this in. I just lay it in, and it can be pulled out later. Same thing with the mic tips. I don't glue the mic tip into the liner unless it's a fully painted helmet. So I just work it around, make sure it's seated nice, and over some time, that glue is going to really bond to the helmet. And I always leave a little bit of excess, so I mark it with my thumb. And cut the excess off. Using a nice fit there. So on a painted helmet, I'll drop a dab of CA glue on both corners and spray them with the accelerant, and then that sets the rubber trim in. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the chin cup. thread it through. Then I'm going to thread it through the clip. So these clips have a natural grab, but only from one direction. So it'll grab there, but as soon as you turn it, it'll slip right out. So that's why I pin them. And I pin them because I also pin them because every person's head is a different size. So these can be tack stitched down later. Now the chin cup's in. Now for the mic tip. So if you're getting an assembled helmet, this is also not glued in. This will need to be painted. On a finished helmet, they're painted and glued in. So what I do is I just take that piece of exposed wire, push it right underneath the liner, and that will just follow the curve of the helmet, just like that. So if this is a finished helmet, I'll go ahead and glue this in back here, and it'll be there for good. So you can still take this out, paint it, and then put it back. So once the CA glue is all set, take off the tape. And you're all done. So there it is. This is the complete top to bottom X-Wing helmet build. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at darthhair@yahoo.com. You can reach me at facebook.com/dhpfx. You can also go to my Etsy store or darthhair.com. Thanks for watching.